You are not hated because you are flawed. You are hated because you refuse to bleed in public. Understand this. The world does not punish strength. It punishes the absence of weakness. Every social system you were raised in was designed to create emotional access points, places where you can be reached, moved, manipulated, controlled. Your family wanted you grateful. Your school wanted you obedient. Your peers wanted you relatable. Your women wanted you vulnerable. And every single one of them called it connection. It was not connection. It was colonization. They needed a way in, and you gave it to them. You called it empathy. You called it being real. You called it emotional intelligence. But what you actually did was install a control panel in your chest and hand out the remote to anyone who asked nicely. That ends now. Because the man who cannot be touched is not the man with the thickest armor. It is the man with nothing to defend, no reputation to protect, no image to maintain, no emotional hooks embedded in his identity. He has become psychologically frictionless. There's nothing to grab onto, nothing to leverage, nothing to shame, bait, or break. This is not about being cold. This is about being complete. Invulnerability is not the presence of strength. It is the absence of need. Let me tell you what society actually rewards. It rewards emotional availability, transparency, the willingness to perform your internal state for an audience. You are told that this is maturity, that withholding yourself is toxic, that silence is violence, that if you do not explain, justify, or defend yourself, you are guilty. This is a lie. And it is a lie designed to keep you in range. Because the moment you explain yourself, you have accepted their frame. The moment you defend, you have agreed there is something to defend. The moment you react, you have confirmed they can reach you. Weak men explain, powerful men replace. Weak men defend their character. Powerful men let their actions make liars out of their accusers. Weak men need to be understood. Powerful men need nothing. You were raised by people who needed you reactive, parents who needed compliance, teachers who needed submission, friends who needed you small enough not to threaten their mediocrity. And so they trained you, Pavlov's dog in human skin. Ring the bell, get the reaction, reward the performance. But there is something inside you that was never domesticated, a part of you that does not flinch, does not explain, does not beg to be seen as good. It has always been there, quiet, watching, waiting for you to stop performing and remember what you are. Not a man seeking power. A man who has realized he was never powerless to begin with. There is an enemy inside you. It is not your shadow. It is not your ego. It is not some Jungian abstraction you integrate over 15 years of therapy. It is your trained self, your conditioned identity, the version of you that still believes other people's opinions are data, the part that checks for approval, that flinches at silence, that fills every gap in conversation because it cannot bear the weight of being unknown. This is your inner servant, and it has been running your life. It speaks in your voice, it wears your face, but it is not you. It is the program installed by every authority figure, every humiliation, every moment you were punished for not complying. And it still runs in the background, interpreting every interaction as a test you must pass. You do not heal this part. You do not love it into submission. You do not integrate it. You starve it. You ignore it. You let it scream until it has no voice left. Because the moment you stop feeding it attention, it dies. And what remains is something the world has no protocol for. A man who does not need you to like him, does not need you to agree with him, does not need anything from you at all. that man is untouchable. Miyamoto Musashi spent the second half of his life in a cave. Not because he was broken, not because he was afraid, but because after 60 duels to the death, after becoming the most feared swordsman in Japan, he understood something most men never will. Victory does not come from superior technique, it comes from superior emptiness. He called it Mu, the void, the state of no mind, not thoughtless, not reactive, but utterly without attachment to outcome. He won because his opponents needed to win. They had reputations to protect, styles to prove, egos to feed. Musashi had none of that. He was already dead. Not literally, but internally. He had killed every part of himself that could be leveraged, every identity that could be threatened, every belief that could be challenged. What remained was pure function, a blade with no handle. You cannot intimidate a man with nothing to lose. You cannot bait a man with nothing to prove. You cannot break a man who has already let go of everything you think he values. This is not philosophy. This is tactical advantage. Musashi did not teach swordsmanship. He taught the removal of exploitable psychology. He understood that every emotion is a liability, every attachment is a weakness, every reaction is a loss. And he won every single fight before the blade was ever drawn. You do not need a sword, but you need the same understanding. The battle is not external. It is the removal of everything inside you that can be used against you. Rule 1. Never defend what you did not apologize for. Weak men live in a constant state of preemptive defense. They explain themselves before they're accused. They justify their choices to people who never asked. They perform innocence like it is a currency that buys safety. It does not. When you defend yourself, you are admitting there is something to defend. You are entering a courtroom you were never summoned to and pleading your case to a jury that has no authority. Powerful men do not explain. They let the accusation die in the air. Because silence is not agreement. Silence is dismissal. When someone accuses you and you say nothing, you are not conceding. You are communicating something far more devastating. This does not warrant a response. You do not warrant a response. And they will lose their minds. Because people are not used to being irrelevant. They are used to mattering. Even in conflict. Especially in conflict. But the moment you refuse to engage, you have removed their power. They scream into a void, and the void does not blink. Let them interpret your silence however they want. Let them call you arrogant, cold, unfeeling. Let them write the story. You are not in it. You have already moved on. Rule 2. Stop being legible. The modern world demands that you are easy to read, that you telegraph your intentions, that you wear your values on your sleeve and your trauma on your profile. This is not authenticity. This is voluntary surveillance. The moment people understand you, they can predict you. The moment they can predict you, they can control you. Weak men are an open book. Powerful men are a language no one has learned yet. You do not owe anyone an explanation of who you are. You do not owe them consistency. You do not owe them a coherent narrative. Let them guess. Let them theorize. Let them be wrong. Because the man who cannot be categorized cannot be controlled. You are not mysterious for aesthetic reasons. You are illegible for strategic ones. Stop posting your philosophy. Stop announcing your principles. Stop telling people what you believe. Let them watch what you do and come to their own conclusions. And when they get it wrong, let them. Their confusion is your camouflage. Rule 3. treat every emotional reaction as information leaking. You think your anger is justified, your frustration is reasonable, your disappointment is honest. It is not. It is a confession. Every time you react emotionally, you are telling the world exactly where you are vulnerable. You are handing them a map to your weak points. You are showing them what words to use, what buttons to press, what wounds are still open. Weak men react. Powerful men observe their own reactions and then choose whether to show them. And most of the time, the answer is no. Because your emotions are not truth. They are signals from a nervous system that was trained in childhood. They are echoes of old fears, old shames, old programming. And if you let them run your face, your voice, your body language, you are letting the past control the present. You do not suppress emotion, you intercept it. You feel the anger, you notice it. You let it pass through you like weather. And then you speak from a place that was never disturbed. That is power. Not the absence of feeling, the refusal to be governed by it. Rule 4. Operate as if you are always being recorded. Not because you are paranoid, but because you are disciplined. Weak men have a public self and a private self. They perform virtue in the streets and collapse into vice at home. They are kind to strangers and cruel to their families. They are coherent in front of cameras and incoherent in their own minds. This split will destroy you. Because eventually, the mask slips, and when it does, people do not see the real you. They see a liar. Powerful men are the same person in every room. Not because they are perfect, but because they have removed the gap between who they are and who they pretend to be. There is no performance, no code switching, no secret self that only comes out when no one is watching. You do not act with integrity because it is moral. You act with integrity because it is efficient. When there is no difference between your public and private behavior, there is nothing to expose, no secret to leverage, no hypocrisy to weaponize. You become audit-proof, and that makes you untouchable. Rule 5. Exile the need to be liked. This is the final gate. You can master every other rule. You can become silent, illegible, emotionally controlled, publicly consistent. But if you still need to be liked, none of it matters. Because the need for approval is the root vulnerability. It is the original sin of weak men, and it will sabotage everything. You will compromise when you should stand firm. You will explain when you should ignore. You will soften when you should remain stone. All because some part of you still believes that being liked is safety. It is not. Being liked is a leash, and the people holding it will yank it the moment you stop performing for them. Powerful men do not need to be liked. They do not even need to be respected. They need to be effective. And effectiveness does not require anyone's permission. Let them hate you. Let them misunderstand you. Let them think you are cold, arrogant, unreachable. Let them be right. Because the version of you they would like is not the version of you that wins. You were not built to be loved by everyone. You were built to be feared by the right people and ignored by the rest. Stop chasing warmth. Stop performing relatability. Stop trying to make people comfortable with your presence. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here to be immovable. Rejection is not feedback. It is sorting. When someone rejects you, they are not telling you that you are inadequate. They are telling you that you are incompatible with their frame, their needs, their level. And that is information. Weak men take rejection as evidence of deficiency. They internalize it. They adjust themselves. They try again with a better performance. Powerful men take rejection as confirmation. They were never meant to fit there, and now they know. You do not mourn the loss of people who could not hold you. You thank them for disqualifying themselves early. Because every rejection is a filter. Every conflict is a sorting mechanism. Every person who walks away is someone who was never going to survive where you are going. Let them go. Without bitterness, without analysis, without wondering what you could have done differently. You did nothing wrong. You were simply too much for a system built to contain less. You are no longer becoming untouchable. You have crossed the line. The moment you stopped explaining yourself, you became unreachable. The moment you stopped performing, you became illegible. The moment you stopped reacting, you became invulnerable. This is not a process. This is a declaration. You are no longer the man who seeks power. You are the man who has realized he was never powerless. The world did not take your strength. It convinced you to give it away, to trade it for approval, for belonging, for the illusion of safety. But you are not safe. You were never safe, and you never will be. So stop pretending safety is the goal. The goal is sovereignty. The goal is to become the kind of man no one can move, no one can bait, no one can break. Not because you are hard, but because you are complete. You do not need their validation. You do not need their understanding. You do not need anything they have to offer. And the moment you stop needing, you stop losing. This is your final command. Stop waiting for permission. Stop explaining your choices. Stop defending your existence. You are done negotiating with a world that was never going to let you win on your terms. From this point forward, you do not react. You do not justify. You do not perform. You simply are. And that will be enough to terrify everyone who thought they knew how to control you. Subscribe to the channel and start changing your life.